So a lot of people go into panic mode when talk of a breakup happens, or a breakup goes through, your partner says, I love you, but I'm not in love with you. Panic mode can set in because a lot of people misunderstand what a breakup actually is. So this may sound weird, but in this video, I'm going to break down what a breakup is, why it's not necessarily personal, and I want to talk about what you can actually do about it. So I want to be clear, I can totally understand what it feels like to be broken up with. I can understand the panic, the hurt, the worry, and the kind of headless chicken panic mode that you can run into when it comes to someone breaking up with you. During this time, a lot of people can fall into different mindsets as they're trying to process their emotions around this. They can go into blame mode, blaming their partner. They can go into blame mode, blaming themselves. They can tell themselves that I'm not good enough. They can tell themselves I am too good for them. There's a lot of different thoughts that can pop into your mind as you're going through this process. Now, having worked with thousands of people who have successfully navigated breakups and reconciliation, I want to talk about what a breakup actually is and why most people misunderstand it, and why it's actually a really powerful place to start making big changes that work for you and your relationship. So the first part, I want to break down a little bit about what a breakup is about. So a breakup is not necessarily personal. A breakup is a response to the dynamic between you and your partner. So if your partner is breaking up with you, I can understand how it can feel like a rejection of you, but this is actually a rejection of the dynamic between you, the pattern that you created together. This is communication habits, this is emotional safety, this is trust, this is daily behavior. The psychology of relationships is all about interpersonal dynamics and the patterns that you fall into as you navigate those. But it's important to really understand that the main rejection here is not you, it's the pattern. The second thing that is happening here is that if your partner is breaking up with you, they're breaking up with their interpretation of you. So I want you to see the difference here. A lot of people can hear something from their partner or ex-partner and take that as categorical fact. Now, I'm not saying what they're saying isn't true, but I want you to understand that when a breakup happens, they are responding to how they experienced you, not the full picture of who you are. So everything we do in life is our action, and it can be interpreted by people in many different ways. So if I raise my voice to get the attention of the class, my intent is to get the attention of the class. There will be some students in the class that will take that as being punished. That is the impact of my actions. It may not have been my intent, but there will be people that will interpret that. And because of that, there will be feelings that will be associated with that. So when it comes to a breakup, understanding your partner's interpretation of you, their feelings on how they experienced you and your actions is true. That is their personal experience. But that is very separate from what your intent was with your actions. So if your partner has experienced your actions in a negative way, this is because they believe your intentions were different to maybe how you intended to. They look at how they felt in your presence and how they see your actions. And I want to be clear, this is really important to separate and understand your partner's interpretation versus your intent. Sometimes people can beat themselves up about what they did and see it as categorically wrong. But oftentimes their intentions are good, but maybe the execution was not effective. So separating those two things is really important. But one of the biggest things that people miss about what a breakup is that oftentimes it's not one event. Sometimes when people talk to me about becoming a member, the thing that they kind of get stuck on is the last thing that happened, where they say, I said this word and she got triggered and now she won't speak to me. So I just want to repair this one thing. But that's 99% of the time not how a breakup happens. A breakup usually happens as a buildup of very small problems. So you can look back at your relationship and say to yourself, I didn't raise my voice, I didn't shout, I didn't get violent, I didn't cheat. You can look at those things and look for the absence of those big things. But oftentimes a breakup happens as a result of a buildup of smaller problems, death by 1,000 cuts over time. So breakups usually follow a string of unresolved moments. And this is really important to know. When it comes to building emotional safety, which I speak a lot about on this channel. When it comes to emotional safety, if your partner tries to address some of the smaller issues over time and it's shut down or avoided or dismissed or deflected, then the impact of this often has just as much of an impact as a one-off bigger event, if that makes sense. This is essentially a slow erosion of a relationship. So then the biggest question that a lot of people get caught up on is when a breakup has happened and there is a lot of that evidence as to the relationship not working, the dynamics not working, and those smaller repair attempts never being resolved, how do you present counter evidence to that? If your partner is rejecting the relationship dynamic, how can you present counter evidence that the relationship can be healthy, can be effective, and can overcome these challenges in the future? I don't want to overcomplicate this because this is a YouTube video. So before I jump into that, if you do want to deeper dive into all of this and understanding the core elements of relationships and how to repair a relationship fully from the ground up, then join my Relationship Bootcamp, where you'll learn the same fundamentals that all of my members use to start turning their relationships around. I'll drop a link in the description if you want to join us. So the key idea is simple. You do not convince someone with speeches. You convince them with consistent behaviors that change the pattern of the relationship. So the first thing to do is to start showing a new pattern, not just making promises. So if you want to counter the evidence that your partner has built against the relationship, counter evidence isn't, I promise I will change. It's shown in your actions. It's showing without words, here is the new pattern that I am already living. This is you creating a dynamic for the relationship by yourself, breaking that pattern and showing a new way through your actions. So this is changing just one behavior at a time so that it sticks, making sure that you're being consistent with it over time, and then let them observe the change without any pressure. And this is really important to change the dynamic of the relationship, because this is essentially showing your partner that your actions are consistent, and this reshapes their expectations over time. But it's also important to repair the original pain point directly. So breakups are always damaged slowly over time, and any bigger event that happened is usually the straw that breaks the camel's back. So I want to be clear on that. But identifying the core issue of what that was. So for example, let's say you cheated on your partner, being able to show that you understand the core issue of what led to you cheating, the struggle that you've had, and specific steps that you are going to take in order to overcome that. But identifying that core issue is really important to be able to lead the relationship and show that you are willing to make these changes outside of the relationship dynamic. Making sure that you're owning your part without any excuses, without any explanations that are often excuses in disguise, and making sure that you are very clear that you are taking a concrete step in order to fix that habit. And this is important because this doesn't fix everything in one go, but it lowers the emotional threat that you show right now and shows that you can handle repair, which is one of the strongest influences that you can have on repairing the relationship. But then something that's really important is tracking and sharing your growth. I want to be clear, this is not sharing your growth with your partner. This is tracking and sharing your growth with yourself and your friends, your supporters, your coach, maybe your therapist, celebrating that growth and making sure that you're tracking it along the way. Any realizations that you have, any breakthroughs, any progress, celebrate the effort that you're putting in and the progress that you're making. This helps you to rewire your brain to be addicted to this growth, to being able to cultivate a stronger dynamic for the relationship. But this stops you from using it to show off to your partner, kind of marketing yourself nonstop to your partner. It allows you to celebrate the progress that you're making, but keeping your eye still on the prize. What this means is that you're able to build your confidence in your ability to navigate relationship repair, but over time, your self-awareness will naturally come out. As you start to grow, you'll recognize some of the ineffective tools that you've had maybe 6 months ago. And as you're tracking your progress for yourself, this self-awareness will naturally come out. You know, if your partner or ex-partner turns around to you and it gives you a criticism or something like that, naturally you'll be able to laugh it off because you'll be looking back at your past self being like, yeah, I was that and that wasn't very effective. That self-awareness stops you from showing off to your partner and constantly trying to humble brag about yourself. It actually shows that you have self-awareness and you're able to recognize it without it emotionally crushing you. This shows emotional security, which rebuilds this sense of emotional safety. And ultimately, over time, this makes the dynamic feel lighter and safer. Repairing a relationship is very, very difficult under pressure. If your partner feels constantly like they have to give you some reassurance that you're going to get back together, or tell you that everything's going to be okay, or if they see you crumbling without them, this increases the pressure on them, which stops them from being able to heal themselves. It stops them from being able to forgive you. So making sure that you're taking responsibility for your side of things and building a dynamic that works without any pressure. This reduces the emotional intensity in your messages to your partner. It keeps conversations on point and deliberate and not all filled with heaviness. And it allows them to set the pace, and it shows that you're patient and you are developing self-control. And this works because this calms your partner's nervous system and it shifts the pattern into something that they can relax into. It's when you think about falling in love, the phrase is there for a reason. Falling in love. This is not pressured into love. This is not pushed into love. This is not manipulated into love. It's falling in love. It has to be a choice that is through autonomy. It has to be done through freedom. And this is something to bear in mind as you're repairing a relationship, making sure that your partner feels safe around you, not is told that they are safe around you, if that makes sense. And this is really important to understand when it comes to understanding conflict in relationship repair. A lot of people try to avoid conflict. They try to avoid triggering their partner. They try to avoid having difficult conversations with their partner. But actually, this stops your partner from feeling safe around you. Now, I've done a deeper dive on this and understanding conflict in relationship repair. But if you want your partner to feel safe around you, you have to cultivate a safe space for them to be able to express their fears and their worries and have that difference in opinion. They have to be able to feel safe to express that in order to feel safe moving forward in a relationship with you. So like I said, I won't go into it here, but I'll leave you with that deeper dive video and I will see you over there.